On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're touring 3 stunning homes that capture the magic of coastal design. First, travel to Charleston, South Carolina to explore a delightful retreat awash in blush pinks, leafy greens, and sun-kissed pastels for a playful, welcoming feel. Next, head to Dallas for a coastal-inspired haven that blends relaxed East Coast elegance with Texas warmth. And finally, step inside a vibrant Florida villa bursting with bold pinks and reds, lively patterns, and an eclectic mix of vintage treasures. This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Sally and welcome to my home in Charleston, South Carolina.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Sally Bennett. I'm the owner and creator of Mirth Studio, and we're here at our farm. During COVID, we were all sort of crammed up in our house not far from here in Riverland Terrace, and we decided that we might want to change, and we were actually looking for waterfront, thinking that might be a fun change. And so we drove out here to look at a house that was on the market, and then we were driving back and my husband said, "Oh my God, that's the house." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "That's the one. It's a beautiful lot. It's 15 acres and has gorgeous trees and it has a really tiny house on it." I said, but that's not what we're looking for, 15 acres with a tiny house." And then I said, "But you know what, why don't you just back up? I just would like to see it." So we backed up and we peered over the fence, and I was like blown away by the alley of oaks and just the whole exterior. I guess, we moved in here with the idea. I told my husband, I said, "There's no way I can live in a 2-bedroom house. There's 5 of us in the family. It has 1 closet. This isn't going to work." But the property was so beautiful. He said, "Why don't we build?" And I was sort of promised a dream house. So we started that process. We actually got as far as hiring an engineer, and I was helping with the plans. And one day we just decided that we didn't have the heart for it. We didn't really want to build a giant house and be out here forever. So we scrapped that plan and we started the renovation. And so what we've done is we've added on, this is our sunroom. This used to be just a patio. So we added on this, and because we desperately needed closet space. So this was able to give us 2 closets. And then we just kept going and going and going. So when we first bought the house, one of the things that we liked about it is it had a working farm on the property. They were growing hemp. There's a barn it was basically just like a metal box that had no electricity, no windows. But we thought, oh, that's great. Let's let the hemp farmers stay and then they'll pay us rent. Well, that really never happened. Never really panned out. So then we took over the barn and I created the best studio ever. And I loved my studio until we decided that we also needed to have a rental unit. So you'll see, we've turned it into basically a 3-bedroom home down there. Here we are in our sunroom. This room did not exist when we bought the house. We actually added on, so The doors were kind of right there where the kitchen starts, and then there's just a small patio. But we needed some much needed closet space, so we figured we put these closets in, and then another closet as well, and pushed everything out towards the backyard. So we reused the same doors, and we just pushed them out onto the patio here. Everything in here is pretty much something that I've made from my company. We made the wallpaper. This is a lattice wallpaper. I really wanted it to feel like a garden room, a sunroom. It's like very traditional sunroom. We do a lot of sunrooms with our business because the flooring is very playful, and people don't necessarily want it all through their house, but if they have like a sunroom or a laundry room or a kitchen that they want to use something more whimsical, this is a good choice. So I definitely wanted our Mirth Studio flooring in this room. I didn't know it at the time when we started designing, but that I was going to get into the rug business too. So I also designed this rug. This is one of our new printed wool, and we're one of the only people in the US printing on wool, and so that's pretty exciting. A lot of the furniture in here is thrifted. The sofa and the coffee table are thrifted. I don't remember where they're thrifted from, but I remember I saw them and I had to have them. I absolutely love them, and they remind me of something that Celery Kemble would put in one of her spaces, and it's one of my favorite pieces I have. And then we reupholstered the cushions. They were not suitable. I love like vintage rattan, so we found these chairs that kind of fit there perfectly. But these have a funny story because I saw them, my daughter sent them to me. She had found them on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought she sent them to me because I designed the fabric. But she said, no, I just like them. So it turns out that back in the 90s, maybe even, early 90s, when I was working for Mimi Russell, I designed this fabric. And then it was printed and sold, and I moved on with my life. And then ended up buying these from somebody that's just like a mile away from here. And she had had them in her dorm room. And so I thought that was really crazy that I actually ended up with the same chairs that I designed the fabric. And the chandelier is kind of fun. I love vintage toll, and I hand painted all those lampshades. They each have a different bug on them. I think that was probably a suggestion again of my daughter, who comes up with really great ideas and says, hey mom, will you do this? Sometimes I wish that I didn't. It takes a long time, but they're pretty special. These drawers are kind of fun because they're actually like pretty cheapies from Home Depot, but I liked that they had this glass. I was kind of trying to create the idea that there might be something beyond this room, but then they were a little bit boring. So then I hand painted all of these designs, which was actually a little trick, pretty easy to do. If you find botanical art, you can kind of stick it behind there and then it kind of use it as your tracing. So it was easy. This little table we found, again, thrifted, and then I hand painted it. My daughter and I had spent some time in India, and I just was really blown away with all the beautiful painting that you see, and I just kind of have brought that into my work. The other fun thing that we are selling at Mirth Studio are our valances and cornices. So that little striped awning that sort of gives you the feel of indoor-outdoor or kind of a circus feel. That's something that we're making. They're made out of PVC, and then you can get them decorated in any color. And I kind of took a chance with my border in this room. I wanted to see some kind of a border, and I kind of may have gone too far with it or not. I don't know. I definitely like, trimming out the room and just giving it its own personality. This painting, I love this. This was my Mother's Day present this year, and I love it because it reminds me of our farm, and I can see like my husband there by the gates surveying the trees. But it's by a Czechoslovakian artist, and it was at the estate sale of my daughter's neighbor and very good friend who sadly passed this year. And we went to his estate sale and pretty much bought everything that he had. So our house kind of looks like his house now. When you enter the house, one of my favorite parts of this whole house is my custom-made gate that Carlos is my savior. He does everything for me here and makes all my dreams come true. And he told me one day that he knew how to weld. And I said, oh my gosh, well, let's make a gate. So we made the most beautiful gate. And so it opens and you're down the beautiful driveway. So entering the house is pretty stunning. And then it's kind of like, oh, here we are at a 2-bedroom cottage that was, built in 1950. It's to me, it's like very charming, and it's very European. Like, I feel like I always kind of wanted to live in Europe, and I kind of feel like I created a European lifestyle out here on Johns Island. So I kind of try to keep the cottage comfy cozy. When you walk in, there's really no grand foyer. There's no real entrance, because what was the entrance has now turned into my office, because we were in such dire need of space that we closed it in, and so now that entrance is actually my office. So the UPS guy gets a little confused when he's like trying to find the front door, but that's okay. And then we decided that the best view in the house was where I'm staring right now, which is back towards the barn and towards the back of the property. It's kind of a long rectangular property. And then we put in a pool and a pool house. And so we pretty much have like everything we need like right here. And if you continue back towards the property, then you find the barn, and we have a greenhouse and a couple other hoop houses. And I just wish I had more time to be a gardener, but it just hasn't happened yet, but one day. And we did a lot of work on the garden. My daughter has been digging and digging for days. So it's, it's really pretty. So right off the sunroom is the kitchen. The kitchen has gone through a lot of transformations lately. Recently, I decided, after I had done a lot of the decorative work in this house, that a white Home Depot shaker kitchen just wasn't working for me. So we made these really cool decals. So these are actually made out of vinyl, and so it's washable, and this is the same material that we use we make flooring decals, so it's very durable. And I hand painted the original design for these little borders, so customers can buy them with the borders. They don't have to have the borders. I kind of tend to go more is better, so I went with the borders. I really love it. This was just a new thing that we did. Then I had to faux marble all the countertops. So those are actually they're still waiting for their epoxy. This is a new one for me, trying to do countertops, but hopefully it's gonna last. And then this is our tile that we make at Mirth Studio. These are ceramic wall tiles that we put there. We added this bar, because like I said, the house ended here. We also added this island, which was a must-have. I just have to have an island in a kitchen. Because the kitchen ended right here, there was really no room until we had built out the sunroom. So this gives us additional storage. We have a wine fridge. We've added some lampshades to the chandelier. This is also my tile on this bar area. Some art that my daughter and I got in Morocco when we visited a couple years ago. I absolutely love these lampshades. They're the coolest thing. It's actually like cut into the fabric. And I borrowed them from Ella, and she might not get them back, because they're really perfect and they really make this room special. So when we moved in, I think I may have mentioned already, these terrible gray floors that were here, very 2000, gray, dark gray. And so I really couldn't live with them. One thing I've learned, that in manufacturing, you have a lot of trial and error, so and it can be very expensive. We would do a whole print run and then look at it and wow, that wasn't right. So here you ended up with a lot of old flooring that you really couldn't use for a customer. So I've had to find ways to use it myself. So we actually painted this. These are our original planks, and so we painted it, and we loved the stripe, and it was easy to paint. So it's a kind of a tone on tone, and I'm pretty happy with the way that these came out. I studied painting, and then I moved to New York City, like a lot of starving artists do. And then I was fortunate enough to work for an interior designer that also was developing a fabric collection. So I learned how to design fabrics, which was like the old-fashioned way, using tracing paper. I also was introduced to decorative painting, which was something I didn't really know much about. and I flipped over it because it was like my two favorite things, interior design and painting. I started my own company eventually doing decorative painting, and it was pretty fun, and I got to travel a lot and work in some extremely nice houses in New York City, met some really fancy people, and it was a great job until my children were born, and then you kind of don't really want to smell bad chemicals or get on ladders, so I kind of went back to my fine art for a little while. And then fast forward to Charleston. We moved to Charleston from the New York area, and we bought a house that needed a full renovation, and I really wanted a painted floor like I used to do for my clients in New York. And I didn't want to actually get down on the floor and do that because it's a back-breaking job and it's no fun. So I kind of accidentally invented a product that I still think I'm the only one in the world making. It's a printed floor, so it looks like, originally it was a tile, so I hand paint the originals and then we print them onto the floor, and then they go back to the factory and get a factory finish. So that was sort of, I thought, wow, this is a really good idea, nobody else is doing it. And the next thing I know, I was like making samples, trying to finish the prototype in that house so that I could get the website going, and it really took off. People really liked it, and I've been in business about 11 years. Since then, we've added a million products because I can't stop. So we've added now carpet, we've added rugs, we've added wallpaper, we're starting balances, we have a new line of cork. Any sort of interesting surface, I kind of like to pick things where there's not a lot of competition in the market, even though we do also do wallpaper, and at some point we will do textiles. So that said, this house has sort of served as a prototype for my entire business. So when I invent a product or need something at work, I try to use it first here. So I've experimented here, and vice versa. Sometimes I need something here and I'm like, hey guys, let's make a new product. So I can show you some of those examples of some of those products. So Off the Kitchen is essentially an open floor plan where we have the living room, dining room combination. We have this bar. It's great for entertaining. Everyone loves an open floor plan. You can always socialize and still be in the heart of the house, which is always the kitchen. So I've always been inspired by the Bloomsbury Group. Since my very first job in New York, I was introduced to them, a group of artists, writers, intellectuals that painted and worked together the turn of the century in England. This past summer, I finally got to go to the house that's coincidentally called Charleston in Sussex, England, and I was blown away. It's like everything in the house is painted. It's so inspiring. They make the carpeting they've made the pottery, painted every surface. So I was like, oh my God, one of the famous pieces that was done by Vanessa Bell was this dining table, and I said, I want a round dining room table that's painted. So here it is. I found this vintage and repainted it, and I'm really excited about having it. I don't even think we've had a meal on it yet, but we will. The other thing that really inspired me about the Bloomsbury Group, they I guess the old saying goes, they lived in squares, they painted in circles, and they loved in triangles. So take that however you want. They did do a lot of circles, and this is kind of a famous Bloomsbury motif with these circles, and I wanted to incorporate that here. So these are actually wood beams that have a wood trim on them that we actually sell. They can be used on the walls or they can be used as a trim. I hand painted the original, and then they get printed, and they actually have a peel and stick backing, so they just stick right up. So it's really easy. I think we installed them in like in a couple hours, we transformed the whole house. So I love that. And I just couldn't stop with the trims. I was like, oh my gosh, I bet if we cut them in half, we can make smaller trims. One of the things about manufacturing, you have to use what they have. So they only come in 5-inch or 2.5-inch. But I started trimming around the doors, and that wasn't enough. So I went around the windows. I don't even know if I'm finished yet. I went around the fireplace. But again, it's such a fun way to add hand painting detail to areas that are usually just kind of boring, and you don't have to slave away and do it yourself, or like repetitive painting. It's like I do it one little section and it gets repeated. So you might be wondering about this guy. This is a crazy story, but when we were renovating a bar in the Lower East Side of New York City called Drinkland. We opened up the wall, and inside the wall was this perfect pastel drawing. It was, when I found it, it was completely perfect. It has gotten some wear and tear over a couple of moves in many, many years, but it's still in great condition, and I just think it's beautiful. There's no signature. I've called the Historical Society of New York. I don't really have any idea of who it is or what year it's from. I love it, and it's gone to every house with us. It always gets a very prominent space. When I decorate, I kind of like to think of things as vignettes, like each little moment has its own personality. I like this little moment. It's kind of where we display like family photos. I love these prints. These are actually, they're not prints. These are hand-painted originals that we got in India and just framed those. I've been really into like circus life lately, and so I made this little skirted table with this little trim. I think you'll be seeing a lot more of that in my work lately or in the future. But yeah, and this mirror, this is probably one of my very first purchases. I think when I was in college, I found this with my mom and bought it, and it's again traveled everywhere with me, and I just love it. And it looked like that when I bought it, still does. Some other like thrifty items are my china cabinets that were not so spectacular. They were actually from IKEA, and I painted them up and added this sort of gold trim and stenciled the back, and I think they work. I love anything in a pair, and I needed a pair at the time, and these again have traveled with us and adapted to each space, but they kind of worked out perfect in here because we kind of went all in on the pink. I love this piece, this credenza. This is from an antique shop in Charleston. I think I just like fell in love with it, and I was like, I really need it. These are from my new friend who has a company called Varnish, and she's making all this beautiful rattan. So they're selling these lamps and this cool basket. The painting is by Thibaut Thiercelin, and he's a French artist who's married to one of my very best friends, Lisa Salamandra, who is also a French artist. And they have a fabulous life in France, and they paint every day, and I'm kind of jealous. It is kind of funny with homes because we had a mid-century 1956 flat roof modern when we lived in Connecticut. That was such a cool house, and it really called for mid-century modern furniture, so we had a lot of it, and a lot of it we still have. So the chandelier was back from our time on Tobacco Road. So I love mixing that in with other things. I don't really try to follow any particular period. I just kind of gravitate towards things that I like. So that is an original Sputnik lamp. These chairs are also Chinese Chippendale that I think we ended up painting. And I am really a big fan of Chippendale anything. I love vintage rattan. These are just some sweet vintage rattan chairs we got, and then these are some rattan bar stools, and we just added a little fun. I felt like I needed to bring some red into the room. I know that like Matisse once said that every room needs a little bit of red, or every painting needs a little bit of red, and I kind of believe that. The sofa was one of the first purchases I ever bought in our old house. It actually was bought before we closed on the house, if I recall, and we built a window to fit it perfectly, but it fits in very nice here in front of our gallery wall, which is a collection of different artists that I either are friends of mine. A lot of the work I did myself. I painted the baby shoes are all my kids' shoes. My daughter's piece, my friend Lisa Salamandra, another Lisa painting. That's one of my collages. John Flack is a pretty famous artist now. I went to college with him, and some of my I went for a small bit, I went to school in France and used to paint cows. And again, I'd love to be back doing that one day. The fireplace was just like a boring, I think it was like white painted brick with a mantle and a big TV over it. And so we actually still do have the TV. It's hidden behind this Japanese screen, which is a brilliant idea that I think we found on Pinterest. And then again, I used my painted wood panels. Instead of painting the whole fireplace, I was able to just apply these. This is our ceramic tile. This is actually hand painted, a little detail. And then the Moroccan screen just sort of ties it all together. I'm super excited about our new rug collection. These are made in India, hand-loomed kilims. So this started out as a painting. So I painted the original, and then I work with my wonderful team at Mirth, who Lauren was able to take my painting and she puts it in a digital format, and then we send it off to India and they were able to weave it for me. So I got to pick all the colors and really just love how it kind of brings the whole room together. I think my two favorite pieces are the rug and the table. This little pillow was an Amazon find, and then I just did a little stencil on it, which we do a lot of here. We try to we try to reuse and recycle instead of throwing out and buying new. So I'm always looking for little projects that would make everything look special. And circles have sort of been a big theme in this house. I don't know exactly where it started, maybe with the chandelier, then the beams, and then it just seemed like a natural place that we needed to have a plate collection that keeps growing. When I find a plate that I love, it gets added to the wall, and probably the whole wall will be covered in no time. Some of them we actually went to the paint your own pottery place and painted ourselves, and others are from antique stores. Some are gifted, but I really enjoy them, and each one I remember either where I got it or who gave it to me. So to me, it's kind of a little history lesson. And this was my upholstery project that I mentioned earlier. It was a huge undertaking. I'm happy the way it turned out, but it was really more than I needed to do. But I was able to embellish it with Luli Wallace pillows. Luli is an artist that used to live in Charleston that has a wonderful collection of fabrics and textiles. So those are hers. And then I just got a few other pillows to sort of hide the mistakes. Doing decorative painting, you get called upon to do a lot of work in commercial spaces, particularly nightclubs where people are looking to do something kind of wild, something kind of theatrical. And so I did a lot of nightclubs, which sort of led me into actually designing them, which was really, really fun. And through that, I met my husband, who happened to be opening a bar. He had decided to go in on a bar with his roommate while he was in law school using his credit card. So luckily it worked out, but it was pretty fun. And then we started dating, and I think we spent most of our early time shopping for carpet for these nightclubs. And then eventually we joined forces and we opened some of our own. So at one point we had 5, and they were really fun, pretty much in the 90s in New York City. So it was a good time. One of them, 20,000 square foot. It was the first day that we signed the deal. I also found out that I was pregnant with my first daughter, which was a little bit tricky to be in the nightclub business and be a new mom, but we took 9 months to build it and 9 months to become a mom. Through designing these nightclubs, I think it sort of has defined my personal style a lot, because I do like things that are theatrical, and I don't want a house that just feels like, I don't want anything boring. I just kind of like to have interest, and I like to have, I certainly like comfort, but I think that a little whimsy and a little theatrics goes a long way in designing. Here we are in our multi-purpose space. It sometimes is used as our office, and sometimes we use it as our entry foyer if we're having a party or something. As you can probably guess, I made the wallpaper and the flooring. The wallpaper is one of my personal favorites. And then we actually printed the design on the ceiling. So the ceiling is made out of wood, and then we applied the same planks that we've used on the beams and on the trim, and they stick right to the ceiling. I bought this for my husband for Father's Day several years ago. It's a Chinese banquet painting. They would paint pictures of the family if they had like a wedding or some sort of event. And these are cool because this is one of the original fabrics that I worked on straight out of art school. So that was one of the original Mimi Russell fabrics I worked on, and I was able to find a few scraps. So I love this one. These paintings are from Macau, where my husband works, and we lived for a period of time, and always remind me of our really great times that we had there. And this is one of our floor patterns that we do. I did a custom color to work with the rest of the room. And again, our custom carpet. Here we are in the primary. This room, I just kind of wanted to feel very, I guess, kind of formal, kind of like a sanctuary, somewhere I could just go. In my perfect world, it would always be clean, kind of feel like a nice hotel. Those were sort of my inspirations. But we did some unique things. We used our trims again. I put them on the ceiling, and then instead of a crown molding, added there. This is wallpaper that we sell. This is by my collection with York Wallpaper, which is the largest wallpaper company in the world. My gallery wall also kind of, it's like a little bit of a shrine for my father, one of his favorite poems and his photos that we miss him. This bed is kind of fun. I've had it forever, but it just wasn't working for me, being just a plain bed. So I created, these are actually the same kind of decals that we used in the kitchen. So I hand painted the original and then printed them out, and they stick right on, and you would never know that it's not a very old antique. I like little fun things like that. And I love how the valance is, that is actually a window back there, and the window is not centered in the room. I have to kind of keep the curtains shut. I can open them, but it's a little bit, it tricks the eye to making you believe that it's centered. One of my favorite things is a painting that I actually found in the trash. It was just sitting there in a pile of trash on the side of the road, and I thought, who in the world would ever throw that away? But it's really found a new life and is very appreciated living in my room. And then I have some art school paintings that I did, and my mom's baby picture, my mother-in-law's debutante picture, some of my favorites. I love these. I don't even know exactly what they are. I think it's probably the first thing my husband and I bought when we had our first home at ABC Carpet and Home, their outlet, Brooklyn. But I love these. I think they may have been like for a file cabinet, but they work great for drawers. I found this cool painting on Facebook Marketplace, which was a big score. And also this table was it was blue and did not work, but a little bit of faux painting, I faux tortoiseshelled it, and that works perfectly. So I love this whole little vignette, and I sit in my bed and I can kind of look at how pretty it is. This is one of our Mirth Studio wool rugs. These can be custom sized to any room. We custom colored. This was the very first prototype, and that was probably 4 years ago, and I think it's held up pretty darn nice considering lots of dogs, lots of cats, lots of kids. I'm pretty happy with it. When we were designing our ceramic collection, we thought it'd be kind of cool to do some coordinating patterns that people could use together. So this is our ceramic floor tile, and then we have our subway wall tile, and so that they can be used in the same room if you prefer. And then we just put this little chair rail. These are kind of fun little paintings that I got, or prints that I found in Asia. Trimmed up this mirror with some scallops because can't have enough scallops, and trimmed up the vanity with some scallops. So instead of gutting it and ripping out the whole bathroom, we just embellished. When we started the renovations, we do have like a wonderful guy that has been helping us who really knows how to do construction, but it's pretty much been my daughter and I that have worked to install everything. It's a very much a DIY house. I even upholstered the sofa myself, which I would never do again. It's definitely worth the $3,500 that you have to spend. But I thought, oh, I can figure this out. So that was kind of a nightmare. We buy things vintage, and if they need to have a coat of paint, they get a coat of paint. We go to estate sales. We just really try to make an interesting layered house. The renovations themselves they sort of have come and gone. Like I I needed to show my tile. We just started doing ceramic tile, so I was like, we need to have a picture of it, so let's rip out the bathroom and start this one. So that's kind of how that came about. It's always evolving, it's always changing. You know, we really never had a plan. The house itself was just not spectacular, like a 1950s kind of cottage with very weird lines, like nothing in this house made any sense. I always loved symmetry. There's absolutely nothing symmetrical about it. And I've had to sort of accept that, where, you know, if I was to build from scratch or we were to spend a lot of money, we would probably have to like take the roof off and make it symmetrical. But we've just sort of said, it is what it is. And I think that's very European. I know that like the old houses, like in Europe, they don't, you know, they live with the quirkiness. And I think that's one thing I've learned to do, is like live with the quirkiness and give, you know, we do have functional issues. Like, you know, we have very little closet space, you know, so we do have to sort of adapt, but we do the best that we can. Now we're going to go ahead and I'll show you my son's room, and on the way, take note of this little hallway that we did. When you live in a little space, you have to kind of use every nook and cranny that you have. So sometimes these bookshelves end up with shoes on them, but this is just a little room that, I don't know, I kind of wish I could fit a chair in here, but we made the wallpaper that comes with the little border, and it works very nicely off of Harry's room, which also we made the wallpaper. So here we are in my son's room, and just a little background about my son. He's about 10 years younger than my middle daughter, so I have 2 grown adult children, and I have a 13-year-old. And he is an aspiring actor, and he's been in a lot of local productions, professional productions. We like to have a little nod to his theatrical life. He's also a musician. He plays the piano, plays the guitar, so we have to have places for all of his things. This also does have to double as a guest room sometimes when we have guests, so he has to sleep on the sofa, but he really likes having his room to hang out in. So this is a custom built-in that we did just to give Harry a little more space for his things, and he loves his things, his Legos. We have a lot of stuff that is from our time that we spent in Macau, and he had a brief career in baseball, and he has like some vintage toys and a few other little knickknacks. The wallpaper came first, so I just kind of love a little red, a little blue, and then we kind of worked from there. Everybody loves a stripe. I can't get enough of them, even if they're all put in the same room. It works for me. This is part of our new Valance collection, and this was the first one. We've made some changes to the design that are a little better, but you live and learn. This is also a Mirth Studio floor. We sell the planks in solid colors, which is pretty cool because you can get any color. Like when you're staining something, you can't do that. So you can get any color you want since we print. So we did a stripe, and then this is another one of our printed rugs. I definitely love the property. I wish I could like take this entire property and drop it in the middle of Charleston, South Carolina. It's a little remote, but I love being out here. It's incredibly peaceful. There's a lot of history about this house. It was actually, you know, it was owned by the governor of South Carolina at one point. This was a huge farm, over 1,000 acres. And some of these trees date back, like they could be like 300 years old. I have no idea. But I did find out that they burned down the original house in the Revolution, 1779. And I was a little nervous to move in because I thought that there might still be some spirits lurking about. And so I was actually terrified about moving in because I learned all this stuff before after we had signed the deal, but before we closed on the property. I started doing all this historical research, and I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to live there. It's going to be so haunted. And I got here and I was like, it's the opposite. It's probably the most peaceful place I've ever been. I do love that. And I kind of love to have a home that's really just, you know, it wasn't spectacular. I believe that our kitchen used to be the garage of the cottage that was rebuilt in the 50s. and you don't feel like anything's very precious, which lets me really take some chances. And I tend to like decorate instead of redesign. I don't try to make it something, that it isn't like supposed to be. And now we're going to take you to the pool house and the barn. We created this little pool cabana. This is probably my favorite part of the whole house because in South Carolina, it rains a lot. Our last pool we had, we always had soggy, wet furniture, and it drove me crazy. So we have a nice covering for our furniture, so it's always ready. If you want to come out and chill by the pool, have a little lunch. When we designed it, we definitely wanted stripes. My daughter hand painted all of those. We added our little trims. Welcome to the barn, which doubles as a guest house, which is great when you live in a 2-bedroom house and you love having company. Here we have 3 bedrooms, kitchen, living area, there's a gym, there is my studio. So it's kind of a multi-purpose hangout space. My son comes here with his friends to play music. I sneak away down here to paint. It's kind of a wonderful place to have. This is kind of our memorabilia wall, a lot of our posters from our nightclubs that we had, and my husband's current job in entertainment. This is my studio where all of the painting happens. These are originals that we then turn into our different products. So this is where I get inspired. For me, it really makes a house a home by having, it's kind of my workshop. I've said before, it's like it serves as a prototype for everything I do. There's always a project going on, and I think that makes me feel very much at home. I grew up in a house that had a sewing machine on the dining room table pretty much every day except for Sunday. I kind of like projects, and so I feel like, my home is a reflection of who I am as a creative person and an artist and a person that likes to do projects. But of course, I like having all my animals. I guess we have 4 cats. We don't go out and find them, but if they show up, we keep them. And we have 3 dogs and maybe adding more. And I love when my children are around. My happiest days are when my entire family is here at the same time, which doesn't really happen that often, but hopefully it'll happen more that we finish the renovation.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Chris.
And I'm Austin.
And welcome to our house in Dallas, Texas.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Chris Colley. I am a part-time Dallas content creator, influencer, and then I also work full-time as an account exec for a tech startup.
My name is Austin Green. I'm a commercial real estate attorney here in Dallas, and I've been doing that for over about 10 years.
We are in beautiful Dallas, Texas. We are in a prestigious neighborhood as well, and we live in a 100-year-old home that is cottage style, that has fully been redone on the inside, and I would describe our home as coastal curated.
Yeah.
Our poor real estate agent
took her through the ringer.
It was very challenging to find a home because just going through COVID, we would go into houses where we had to have the masks on, or sometimes it was virtual, you couldn't go in, it was very tricky. And also there was a million offers on houses that we wanted at the time. So the process really and how we landed on this house was we were looking at Lakewood, we were looking at M Streets, and we went through so many different homes and just funny stories along the way. But we landed at this neighborhood that we really didn't know about. It's kind of a hidden gem. And so it was like, I want to say later September, because we got the house in October. Our agent was like, there's this neighborhood. I know it's not the area that you want, but it has a pool, it has a guest house, and that was the big criteria. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I had to have a pool, and we love vacationing, and so we wanted to be by the water somewhere. And so a pool was a must, and she was like, there's a pool, there's a guest house, and it's fully redone, which was another requirement. We didn't want to do a lot of renovations. So in Dallas, there's tons of old homes in the neighborhoods that we were looking at, which we love, the character and charm of an old home, but we didn't want to redo the kitchen, redo this, redo that. Right. So she basically nailed the criteria. It just wasn't in the area that we were thinking. And once she showed us the house, it wasn't even on the market.
Correct.
We got super lucky. That same day, I think we
made an offer.
We made an offer.
And that was it.
And that was it. Didn't even go on the market. And they accepted our offer. And it was like, we did not expect that this was going to be the area, but we have fallen in love with all of our neighbors. We're all best friends on this block. It's almost like a Desperate Housewives
pretty much
show, and it's fun. We're so blessed that that she found us this house.
Yeah.
So when you first walk into our entryway, we love it. It's small but mighty and packs a punch. It kind of gives off the almost White Lotus vibes. So there's a really great lamp from Mecox in there that we love, that kind of ties it all together. We've got some vintage paintings that we layer throughout the house. We love the mix of modern with the old feel. And then there's a vintage rug. And we started collecting matches. It's like a new thing. So we have a beautiful gold tray with matches on there, and then a beautiful entryway table from Pottery Barn, actually. And then fun Dallas vintage books, and I love like little boxes. So there's a lot of vintage boxes throughout the house that you'll see. So a fun gold box in there on top of a Dallas book. And then Niven Morgan candle, which is a friend.
We've got a Niven Morgan candle in there. He's actually a good friend of mine. He's based out of here in Dallas. So we kind of have a lot of his candles throughout the house.
Yeah. And then of course the beautiful door that's been there, the original. So we love it. Once you enter the home after the beautiful entryway, we are now in our living room, which we love. This is a place that we hang out all the time, and what I mean by coastal curated, you kind of get that vibe here. So it's light, bright, and airy, and I guess we'll start here, just like when you walk in. So one of the main things about me is I'm not afraid to say it, but I like to mix high and low, but I want it to look chic and elevated, and like it could be designer-esque. So in this entry, we've got Williams-Sonoma console, which is pretty pricey, but then I've got Target photos here that I think look vintage and cool, and I'm not afraid to say it. And then we've got some vintage pieces from, where are these
Some
from
really
again?
cool pots from Benny Jack's. It's an antique store here in Dallas in the Design District.
And I just love the colors and kind of like brings the blue, because everything was very kind of neutral white and creams. And so we added some colors with the pots, and then we did the fireplace, which you'll see later, but we painted that, which our designers thought would be a great, great idea, which matches the board and batten. So it really gives it a pop in the room. This sofa, again, I'm gonna spend on the Big Pieces dining room table sofa. So this is from West Elm. We love a good sectional in this space. I'm 6'2", so if I have like the small little sofa and the two chairs, that doesn't work for me. I like to have a place where I can nestle with the dogs and sit by the fireplace, which was another selling point for this house. During the fall and the winter, we love to have the fireplace on, all the candles lit, watch movies, have the dogs kind of veg out. And even though the sofa looks clean now, the dogs will be all over this.
These are pushed down, and
yeah. And then I'll be over here with the dogs, and Austin will kind of be on his own.
by myself.
Like when we're watching movies. So this gets utilized. I know it looks like pretty now, but we definitely veg out here all the time. And then Beautiful flower arrangements here. We love to have fresh flowers. We try to do it as much as we possibly can. A lot of my neighbors and friends will make fun of me because I have fake flowers, and they're like, wow, I've never seen real plants in your house.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So we've got real plants going throughout the house. And, you know, again, the high-low. We've got this styled beautifully. This Aspen book, which is one of our favorite places. We love to vacation in Aspen all the time. But this kind of like coastal cabinet is, believe it or not, from Wayfair. But I think it looks good and goes great with the space. And that's my aesthetic. If it looks good and it feels good to you, I feel like this looks elevated. You would never know that it's from there.
It's all about highs and lows.
Exactly. Here's the beautiful fireplace. This is originally white, but we painted it to match the board and batten, so you'll see that later. And I thought it came out great. This kind of console here. So Austin got this little box, which you'll see this throughout the house.
Love little boxes. You get them from antique stores. You'll see them throughout our house, but we just love things like this.
And then a couple other cool things here on the table. So this is our favorite potpourri. It is from Santa Maria Novella, and you can get them only at a couple places. You can order them online, but I worked in retail for a clothing store called Theory, and they had these in all the stores when I first started. This was years ago, and it was like, I was like, what is that smell? I can't, like, it was so, and even all the clients would come in and be like come in from the outside and say, what is that fragrance? And walk in the store. So they carry this here in Dallas, and we have this throughout the house. It is amazing, and I highly recommend that you get it.
And it comes from Italy.
Yes. Yeah. Great brand. They do fragrance. And then the other thing is, always like to layer on books and have trays. So there's a tray in the entryway. There's a gorgeous tray here. So more trays in the house. So this beautiful vintage tray, I think, ties it all together. And then we layered the books. But when I do a vase, my new obsession is like these crystal vases that I got at an antique vintage store here in Dallas. I believe it was Lullabies or Benny Jack's. But this elevates these beautiful hydrangeas. So instead of like that solid vase, go get a crystal antique vase, and it really like elevates the space quickly. And these weren't bad. These were like $50. So we've got that. And then again, the high-low, this table was from World Market, but it fit with the theme. The other thing I'll say is that we're on this diamond checked rug, and when we were kind of redoing some design things, I wanted the kitchen to have that gorgeous diamond checked, you know, marble flooring, or the entryway. We have a smaller house. It's a 100-year-old house. We didn't want to spend the money and do the kitchen like that. And so I thought, let me bring some of these diamond patterns that I love that are kind of rich and elevated into the living space. So we did it on the rug. And then there's a fun print here. I thought this kind of like this hallway with the diamond checkered floor, this is what I wanted. Carries it into the living room and makes it just really pretty. So that's why I picked that print. And off of the living room, this is one of my favorite rooms in the house. This is our sunroom. Fun fact, this was a front porch. And so they added this sunroom. And when we first bought the home, it was an office and staged as an office. And we kind of had it that way. And it was like, oh, we could look out the window and kind of work here. And then I thought, I want to make this kind of like, you want to come, sit down with your friends, have a glass of wine, put some music on, have the windows open, and you're in this kind of just like vacation sunroom spot that you would kind of hang out at a hotel. And I think we captured that vibe here. I love wallpaper on ceilings. It brings your attention up and just adds to the overall aesthetic of the room. So we kind of have like this bird theme almost going on. My friend actually had this wallpaper print, and I thought it was really, really cute. And I decided to get it in a different color and copy him. And it came out really, really nice. It tied in with the blue sofa. We thought that was really fun for the space. And then this beautiful Ushak rug is from Southern Rugs, Texas. And I love the colors together. It's just so, so, so pretty. And then we had to do these dramatic palms. So I think this kind of is the main showstopper of the room. These are from Nicholson Hardy. They're absolutely gorgeous. And so it makes you just want to come in and cozy up, have a conversation, a cup of coffee, whatever, and you don't feel like you're in Dallas, which I like that. And then this print we love. I've seen it just all around, but it's just fun and different. And so we kind of wanted to mix some of the coastal things with this fun print, this little guy underwater. I think we got this from Living Furniture or Modern Living in Dallas, by the way.
So these pillowcases, each one is one of a kind. It comes from this place here in Dallas. They take different rugs, a Turkish rug, and they cut them up and put the print on the pillow. So this is one of a kind pillow. No two pillows look the same, which is, I think, really cool to have something unique.
Yeah, and it kind of ties into this kind of just like fun, almost tropical vacation-y sunroom that you just want to hang out in. So these are really pretty. And I love chinois vases, so these are definitely layered throughout the house. It's also very Dallas to me and ties it in nicely with the beautiful flower arrangement that we did. So.
And then over here on this side, we have this really cool cabinet or bookcase here where we've got a lot of books and different things. These beautiful vases are from Arteriors. This cool thing here came from Paul Michael. And then we've just got different books kind of keeping with the color palette of the home. And then this is probably my favorite painting in the house just because of our New Orleans roots. Chris was actually... Picture print. Chris was born in New Orleans. My family's from New Orleans. I went to school in New Orleans, so just kind of reminds us of New Orleans.
The other fun fact I think I have to mention is I do all of my editing for social media here. So this is like my safe space, and I come here, I do my green screens. I'll honestly like sit on the ground here. I'll prop the camera up, and I'll do a lot of like my fun, like your Rich Mom in Dallas content, all that filmed here on the ground, and just do all of my editing and everything that I need to do for social media in here a lot in this room. So it's a great like spot for me to kind of, decompress and do all that. I think for us, like, we're not interior designers, but we really fell in love with Provincetown, Massachusetts, and it is a lot of like these cottages, a lot of older homes by the water with the beautiful hydrangeas out. Everyone's sitting outside during the fall with like a fire pit on, having a glass of wine. And that was really a lot of the inspiration. It's by the coast, it's kind of beachy, it's light and airy, almost.
I mean, like a lot of neutral colors. And by curated, I think we mean every room is intentional.
Yes.
It's not just kind of thrown together. Like we had ideas of what we wanted to do for each room.
Yes. And so you'll see that throughout the house. And also what I love is that every room is completely different.
Yeah.
Actually, every single room, from the sunroom to the guest room to our living room. The dining room and living room kind of go together because they're one space. Yeah. But everything else is completely different. So you're like, what am I going to walk into next? Which is really exciting. So that's how I would kind of describe it. And that's where the inspiration comes. We love Provincetown and we love all the beautiful homes there. And we wanted to bring that vibe here and kind of make our own little like resort, or kind of like this house could be by the water when you walk in, which a lot of people say it's kind of like a vacation home, they think. So that's what we did. All right, so we're gonna walk through the living room into our dining room. And this is, one big open space. So we wanted to kind of keep that same coastal curated, like light, warm cream colors from the living room, again, into the dining room. And I think what's unique about this space is that when we first bought the house, this was a big square chandelier. And we were going back and forth between a rectangular dining room table or circular, and our real estate agent was like, I think you should do circle, like that's really in. And then I was like, yeah, let's do that. So we loved this marble table from CB2. It's modern, but again, with the vintage paintings, we're mixing that modern and vintage feel together. And we love the circular. So from that, we said, let's get this beautiful chandelier. This is from Pottery Barn, I believe.
Yep.
And if you want to talk about this stunning...
Yeah, I mean, this is a permanent tablescape here that we've done. We had Nicholson Hardy put this together for us. So it's just gorgeous. The colors are beautiful. And so, yeah, this stays here permanently.
And then if this wall over here, so we love, you know, a gallery wall. We initially were going to do it on the board and batten, which I'll show you, but we decided let's just do a fun little gallery wall print here in the dining room. We also do a lot of videos right here where we're like filming like eating and stuff, and people are always like, what are all these photos? But I love vintage prints, whether it's landscape, kind of the horses, or portraits. And so I kind of loved this little girl and kind of based it around off of that. And just mixing the different frames is something I do too. So it doesn't have to be all gold. There's wooden, there's gold, there's black, there's circular. So I like to mix the different shapes. And so this is just a fun wall. And
this one down here at the bottom is
yeah.
kind of neat. We actually got this at an estate sale in our neighborhood. So pretty neat.
Yeah, we get a lot of fun things from actually our neighborhood, which is great. This is just a beautiful ficus that we got from our favorite garden store, Nicholson Hardy in Dallas. So we think it's gorgeous. We love the planters also from them. We love to have plants and greenery in the house.
It gives the house life.
Yes. So wherever we can have plants, we love it. Okay, so this is a fun story. So this is a cabinet that we had with all this home decor product in it and kind of styled that way. And then we worked with designers that said, okay, let's make it into like kind of a bar cart, like bar area with all your glasses and decanters and...
Yeah, it really just elevated the whole cabinet. And
loved it.
Kind of funny story about the cabinet, right? I mean, it's from Crate and Barrel.
Okay, so the funny story says, this is old, but I was chasing this cabinet for a while, and it was at the outlet, and then you couldn't get it anywhere. And I went to a bunch of different outlets, and they're like, it's not for sale, it's not for sale. And then finally, I can't remember what happened, but they put it on sale and they let me have it. They were nice enough. But they were sold out everywhere at the time. Now they've redone tons of these cabinets, so I mean, you can find them. But I was obsessed with it, and then I think when you open it up, we've got some fun things here. So if you want to talk about those glasses, those are important to you.
Put these really beautiful crystal glassware in the cabinet. These were my grandmother's, so they've been in my family for decades. I thought they were just really pretty.
So pretty.
And these are just kind of our favorite liquors that we have here. We love Ranch Waters, which is a tequila-based drink. Lalo, of course, is our favorite. We always keep that stocked.
And we love bourbon, believe it or not.
In the winter, yeah, when it's cold.
In the winter, but I'm a big bourbon drinker, so we've got our collection of bourbon. This is one of my favorite things in this cabinet. I just think this is the cutest little pig. And I got this at a vintage store here, and it's just really fun. And you can serve drinks on it, food, whatever, but I just love the color, and I love this little guy. So this is really, really fun.
The glassware and these really pretty decanters down here, again, going back to the theme kind of our home, we like to do modern, mixed modern, and antique and vintage. These came from Benny Jack's, which is an antique store here in Dallas.
And then, of course, New Orleans. So you'll see New Orleans stuff around the house, little cocktail book from New Orleans, which we love. This design, I love what they did here. And then I think the big wow factor is in the dining room, like you come in, it's coastal curated, and then it's like, okay, boom, you've got this big pop of color. And this is board and batten with this fun Raphael print, which, fun fact, if you ever seen the Nicole Kidman show, I think it's A Perfect Murder on Netflix. This print is from that show. So she's got this beautiful home and all this gorgeous wallpaper, and like all my friends were like, where's that wallpaper from? So we found the wallpaper, and this used to just be all white. Kind of had some photos here, and it was just kind of like, eh.
It was a long hallway, and it was just white. It was just, it needed
Yeah, and it's like, you could do a gallery wall, you could do mirrors, and we're like, what are we gonna do? And actually our designers thought, okay, well, let's let's paint all the squares and put wallpaper in all the squares. And we're like, that's a really cool idea. So this is the color that ties in with the fireplace.
The mantle, the entry.
And it's Pharaoh and Ball, and it's beautiful. And then, yeah, this is, again, Raphael's the name of this. I don't remember the exact designer, but this is a fun print. And so it kind of gives a pop of color when you walk into the living room.
When we moved into the house, it was just a blank white wall, and we added the board and batten, painted it white, and again, even with the board and batten trim, it still needed something.
Yeah.
And so this pattern, I think, is just gorgeous.
I love wallpaper, and it's texture, right? It brings dimension in, and so there was a lot of white, and we're like, how do we make a fun pop and something different? So we thought this was a good statement piece. We've got some cameos. We've got our dogs. We decided to let them out because they were barking, but we've got Bentley and Park. So if you see them walking around, it's fine. But let's, off the dining room, we'll kind of go into our guest bath and our guest bedroom. Really quick, the guest bath, because I think it's kind of cool. We've got this beautiful, this all came like this when we bought the house. We love this blue tile. It's a fun pop of color. So just bring something unique and different. And then, of course, I love wallpaper. So we decided to do this fun print in here that it's kind of like gives off that vintage vibe. We've got like the little statue here. This is an antique mirror. I love the shape of this. So I saw this at a store here in Dallas and I was like, I have to have it. With the lamp, so all this has been changed. And then there's this beautiful sunlight here. And then some more just vintage prints here. Again, I like to mix and match just different shapes, but I think it's just a fun guest bath and it ties all nicely together with the color of the cabinets here. And yeah, so this is just a fun bathroom for people to come in because I love the wallpaper and just the pops everywhere. This is our beautiful guest room, and I'm excited to talk about it because we were in New York, we went to the Polo Bar, we loved it. We went to the Ralph Lauren Mansion store, which is huge there and iconic, and we also have a beautiful home store from Ralph Lauren here on Knox. And we just got inspired and said, why don't we make our guest bedroom kind of more Ralph Lauren inspired? And so this is our take, this is our version. So we wanted to make it dark and the signature navies, and we kind of built it around the bedding. So this is actually this fun plaid print. This is Ralph Lauren. So the bedding's Ralph Lauren, and then of course we did this Ralph Lauren pillow. And then from there, we decided, okay, we'll do this beautiful navy like color on the wall.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, let's also do a fun check print, which is very Ralph Lauren as well, on the ceiling. And so I think it ties together nicely.
So we got these just gorgeous palms from Nicholson Hardy, and we actually went to their outdoor garden center and got these real pots from their outdoor center. But I think they just look stunning in this room. These terracotta pots with these beautiful palms. Yeah, they're huge, but they're just gorgeous.
Yeah, and then of course a lot of prints. So we've got the horse here. This to me is very Ralph Lauren, so we wanted to make sure we had a mix of these fun prints. And then this, when in any kind of Ralph Lauren room, he has these beautiful big palms, gold pots, and so we love this vase. We got this at, I believe, Benny Jack's actually. And then all of this is vintage. So this fun vintage decanter with, these are very Ralph Lauren inspired, and this beautiful tray, and then this fun little magnifying glass. And then
this is a vintage trophy that I found. It kind of goes to the Ralph Lauren theme. We think of horses, so just kind of a cool piece.
Yeah, I love that. And then we actually have this beautiful Ralph Lauren candle that's burning right now. Some more fun books, and then of course you have to have the Ralph Lauren book in here as well. This to me is very Ralph Lauren, and I love this beautiful gold mirror that we also got at a vintage store. I just fell in love with it, so I wanted to put it up really high and kind of anchors the room when you walk in. And just really, really pretty. And then you'll see there's horses on the
nightstands.
On the nightstands. So there's just some fun vintage horses that we got to kind of keep with the theme of the room. This is just like kind of a vintage bench that actually, again, a lot of this room, you got very expensive bedding, you got very expensive plants and some other things, but this is actually, I believe, from Wayfair, I think. But it's playing off the vintage vibe. I couldn't find one at a vintage store, but it ties in nicely with the leather. When you think about Ralph Lauren, he's got a lot of leather pieces and even chandeliers. This was very Ralph Lauren inspired. And then this fun just little print. This we also got at a vintage store, and then kind of the chinois vase tying in with the other vase with the beautiful flowers, and the lamps are chinois, so it kind of all plays off each other, and we love how this room came out, and a lot of our guests, this is their favorite room in the house actually. Follow us from the guest bedroom, and we're gonna go into the kitchen. This is our beautiful kitchen, and we did get a lot of things redone in here. But again, every room so far I feel like is completely different except for the living room and dining room that are cohesive. So this also to me is very inspired by Provincetown and kind of like Hamptons vibe. It's, you know, you've got the whites, you got the chinois vase, but then you got the beautiful wallpaper. And so we wanted to keep it clean, bright, and airy. And so a couple things were redone here. So the first thing is we didn't like the backsplash, so we updated the backsplash here.
It was a very deep
it was
blue.
Like, yeah, it was like greenish blue.
Yeah.
And it was like completely random. It did not go all the way up, so it didn't give a lot of height. But we did have this beautiful Viking stove here. Another selling point for the house, all these great appliances that came with it. We didn't add any of this. So we love this Viking stove. And then it also came with a wine fridge, which we do have fully stocked. So this comes in handy for guests and just, you know, something in a 100-year-old house. Again, you don't walk in and think that there's all these updates in here.
We love to entertain.
Love to entertain.
The home just has great living areas, and we have a great backyard that we'll get to it at some point.
Yeah, okay. We've gone back and forth on this coffee machine. So Austin, my husband, loves coffee, and I love more espresso. So he had this old school coffee machine that, like, with the pot, and it made all this noise.
I do the pot and the filter and the water, and you give and take in marriage, and he finally said, please get rid of it.
Yeah, it just made a lot of noise, and so I was like, okay, wait, but I want an espresso. And so we compromised with this, but this is like our little kind of coffee nook. And then again, of course, off the Ralph Lauren theme, we have our little Ralph's Coffee here. We went there in New York City, and we had coffee there at the iconic Ralph's, and we wish that it would come to Dallas, who knows? But we got this little set there as well. And then again, love these vintage vases. Just with hydrangeas, this makes it just super elevated. Like these hydrangeas, I mean, not that expensive. And this crystal vase, not that expensive either, but it just gives it a pretty chic look. Love a vintage painting against any kind of wall lean there. So I thought this is fun landscape print. So we kind of layered that in this little kind of breakfast nook area that we have here. And then as you walk through the kitchen, like we love this big island. So we eat here all the time. We have our guests here all the time. And of course we wanted to kind of do a wow factor. So these beautiful flowers kind of center the room, and it ties nicely with the beautiful wallpaper behind you. So we always love fresh flowers here. And what
I was going to say like the counter space in the house was a big selling point for us, just because we love to entertain. So there's room to put all kinds of drinks and food. We have a Christmas party every year, and so it just gives us tons of room to have it catered and have tons of food. So
yes,
big selling point in the house for us.
It gets utilized a lot. And then we changed the light fixtures. It was like these weird kind of small lights when they came, and I always kind of love this look with the cone lighting and the white and kind of the gold chain. And then have to talk about this. So we love, love, love gray Malin, and this is the iconic Micasina Mambo Taxi, which is one of my favorite margaritas in Dallas. And so I wanted to bring Dallas into the home. Gray Malin is originally from Dallas, and this is just a fun print. And so brought it in, put it in the kitchen, kind of gets you in the mood to drink a margarita. We love these gold salt and pepper shakers. These are iconic. I see them in a lot of houses, but
these are Greek salt and pepper shakers.
Just really pretty. Again, another one of my favorite crystal vases with flowers on my Define Dish cookbook. So she's from Dallas too, bringing a lot of Dallas in the kitchen. And then as you come back here, again, I've got a lot of wallpaper. We decided, let's make a punch like when you walk into the house and you're walking back to the pool. We wanted to do a fun print on this wall. So this is Serena and Lily wallpaper. And then we decided, let's put some beautiful just like plates on the wall. And the designers also thought about that. And so we're like, okay, this is good. So we've got some vintage plates that are all on the wall. The other thing I love about this house, it's wood floor all throughout the home, but we wanted a beautiful runner. This again is from Southern Rugs, Texas, and it's Ushak, and I just love the colors, kind of like this blue green kind of ties everything in together in this room nicely.
Again, Nicholson Hardy is just our favorite garden store here in Dallas. They just make the most beautiful arrangements. This is a beautiful orchid. We're trying to keep it alive. We'll see how we do, but so far we're doing a good job.
Yes. We had a big gold mirror here. We might think about putting another mirror or something here, but again, this wallpaper carries through the dining room to the kitchen and gives it a fun pop when you're in here. And we also, these are Serena and Lily bar stools. This was actually one of the first purchased when we actually bought the house.
Yeah.
I've been seeing these everywhere, and I was like, oh, I kind of need to have these. So yeah, these are Serena and Lily, and we got the Serena and Lily wallpaper. And again, it kind of gives you that like coastal Provincetown vibe. It also reminds me a little bit of Gray Malin. He does these like kind of coastal kitchens. And that's why I have the Gray Malin picture in here. And off our beautiful kitchen, this was not the original bedroom, but we made it into our bedroom. So let's walk into our primary. Here we are in the primary bedroom, and Austin's going to talk about this was not our bedroom.
So when we first moved into this home, this was a second living area, and we thought, well, there's only two of us. We don't need two living areas. They actually had the smallest bedroom in the house as the primary.
Yeah,
so what we did was we flipped the entries from the primary bathroom and made this into our primary bedroom, which is one of the biggest rooms in the house.
Yes. So we added a door because there originally wasn't a door, and then we closed off an entryway to the primary bathroom and made that a wall. So now it's like cohesive. And this was one of the biggest rooms, and it also overlooks the pool and has entryway to our patio where you can go out and have a cup of coffee, let the dogs out. So it actually makes sense. It's really pretty. But a couple things about this room. So one, the color, this is Benjamin Moore. I always wanted a moody, dark kind of green. And I was going back and forth between, do we do The Office, that, but I just wanted something to come where everything's kind of like light, bright, and airy in the home. And in the room, I want it to be tranquil and peaceful. And I feel like this color really captures that. I want to stay in here. It's relaxing. So reading a book, laying on the bed, being with the dogs, like this color calms me down at the end of the day. So I think that's important in your bedroom.
Yeah.
But some fun things. Of course, we have photos of us. This is from our wedding, and
This is when we got married, these three here.
which is at Zaza in Dallas, and then
This is when I proposed to Chris on the beach
In
in
Mexico.
Mexico.
So reminders before we go to bed or in the morning, I wake up and I'm annoyed by him and I just want to like, I'll look at the prints and then it'll calm me down. I'm like, oh, okay, let's remember where we started. This is a fun vintage table and it's gonna bug me, but the name, it's like pretty iconic. And I don't remember the name of it, but I loved it. It's almost like violin something.
It looks like an instrument.
Like an instrument. And so we love that with the orchid. And I can kind of show you these fun vintage prints, but there is something really cool that we feature here on the wall. So this is just a fun vintage landscaping print. Austin can talk a lot about it. This is from the director of the DMA who used to live in this neighborhood.
So this is a drawing of one of the homes in our neighborhood. I think this is just so cool. This was back in the 1980s. His name was Harry S. Miller.
Yes.
And he drew, I think there's a number of them on here, but he handed them out to the neighbors back in the 1980s. And it's supposed to depict a lot of the neighbors protesting against what they were calling greedy developers back in the day. They were really trying to protect the neighborhood. And so they just got some really cool depictions of neighbors kind of up in protest, trying to protect the neighborhood from big development.
They were trying to make a development right by the tollway outside of the neighborhood, and he lived in this house, and so it captures that. And there's only a few people in the neighborhood that actually have this print, so it's very unique, very special. And the fact that he was the director of the DMA back in the days, pretty cool. And so we wanted this in our bedroom and framed, and so we
I think we have some neighbors that are wanting to sneak into our house at night and take it.
We do. And then more just like kind of gold vintage prints, as you can see here, which we love against the wall. I love gold frames and landscape portraits. I just think it's ties in with the room, makes it very moody. These are from Crate and Barrel, and it's just kind of funny because, again, high-low, got at the outlets. Originally, I had the 2 nightstands, and I came in and I was like, okay, this is the color that I want. And it's, again, kind of coastal, but I got the 2 nightstands. But then I'm like, well, how do I get the dresser? And a week went by and I was like, hey, do you think that dresser will come in by chance? He's like, we always get them. And then, like, I went on a Monday and he was like, yeah, we got it in. And so just very random that I got these all as a cohesive set at an outlet, because they'll come in different times throughout the year. And within 2 weeks of each other, I got to get this set. So lucked out on that. And then we kind of tied it together with this beautiful fig tree from Nicholson Hardy, and then some fun kind of gold vintage prints again above the lamps. And I love the shape of these lamps too. I just think they're fun. And now I'm going to take you to one of our favorite spots of the house, why we bought it. We're going to go to the backyard, and then we're going to go into our guest house. Okay, so now we are in our beautiful pergola and just kind of dining area outside, which we're obsessed with. But Austin's going to talk about
this wasn't here
pergola.
when we moved in, and we love to entertain. We love to be outside. We needed some coverage, so we had this beautiful pergola built for us. Just allows us to be out here, in all types of weather. So
yes,
it's really nice. Keeps it shaded in the afternoon.
Yes, and we like to entertain, so we'll have drinks here, we'll have dinner outside on a beautiful fall day. We added some light fixtures and then some beautiful planters here as well. And then we wanted to cover the pergola. We didn't want to have it open because it gets too hot in Texas. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to make sure it was fully covered, and I'm so glad that we did that because we would be frying in the hot sun.
Yeah.
But yeah, we love it here. We added some like outdoor candles and lanterns, and yeah, so this is kind of, you walk into this pool area. So we also had all this painted. I kind of love this color, but as you walk into the pool area here, all of this was like cement. The pool was here, but we had everything else completely redone. So all of the landscaping, all of the trees, we have about, 8 trees. And then we did these custom pavers, and we added turf. So these pavers we added with these rocks, they're actually glued together so they don't get messy, which is really nice. We wanted to do turf, but then we thought when you kind of walk out and you see all the beautiful trees and all of the turf, it was a good contrast, so it wasn't so much green.
Yeah. So I mean, in the spring and summer, I mean, we pretty much live out here. We always have a bunch of friends over on the weekends.
Yes.
This is a pretty popular place to be. We just absolutely love the pool. It was, to be honest, it was a requirement for our first house. We just had to have a pool. Chris moved here from Florida and Miami. I just really loved being around the water, and so it was a requirement for us.
Yeah. So we love it. We changed the coping, all turf around the pool. The dogs run around, they love it. And then kind of tying into this like Provincetown theme, we love the pinstripe, or not pinstripe, but the blue and white striped cushions.
Yeah.
And these are kind of like some of our favorite trees that grew so big in the back here, that awesome.
So we
If you wanna
added
talk about it.
these junipers 4 years ago. They were probably about not maybe half as tall as they are now. So they've just turned out beautiful, low maintenance. I think they're just gorgeous.
And it kind of gives you that, like, again, people think it's a resort back here.
Yeah.
In California, you see these big junipers everywhere, and they also block the neighbors too. So we added these in, and we love our hydrangeas, and we did the window boxes as well. Again, this to me is very Provincetown, and that was kind of the vibe that we were going for. And these aren't bloomed yet, but these are limelight hydrangeas, and they will be stunning white limelights. And then we did all these trees, and we have these lit during Christmas. So every tree, even the junipers, will have Christmas lights around them, and it's stunning when you come out here at night. And just for our Christmas party that we do every single year, we like to have it. And
we have a huge Christmas party every year with, open bar, DJ.
Yes.
Other surprises. We sprayed champagne last year.
Yeah, it was a wild time. So we love this. None of these trees were here, by the way. There was one tree. We removed it, and everything else was cement, no grass. So we added all of this ourselves, and that's our pool area.
Next, we're going to take you into my favorite room in the house, and that is our guest house, or as we also call it, the casita.
Let's go. Okay, so we are in our casita, or guest house, pool house, and a couple of different things that we've done here. So it actually used to be more blue, and we had this kind of funky wallpaper, but it wasn't throughout. And working with our designers, they were like, we envision this beautiful kind of green light color. And so this is from Farrow and Ball. We did the ceilings as well. And it came out so pretty because it kind of ties into the beautiful greenery when you're staying here. And we kind of think of this again as like almost a White Lotus kind of
like you're
tropical.
In a bungalow.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Yeah. And so we've got these fun prints kind of tying to that bungalow kind of tropical theme. You're at a pool house, but we love these bird prints, and we just loved the frames on these. And it ties really nicely with the color of the Farrow and Ball paint. Love plates on a wall. There's so many plates I can get from vintage stores. I want to put them everywhere, but we thought we'd just add one like fun tropical print to this wall here. And then we love the idea of having these kind of sheer curtains. You can open up the windows and have it all up with the curtains, and it kind of gives height to the room. So, and again, you feel like you're in this like bungalow and private getaway. But we did this white linen bedding, and then I think this is from West Elm, or
this is from Crate and Barrel. The blanket's from Crate and Barrel, and the quilt here is from Pottery Barn.
Yes. So you've got this white bed frame and these white nightstands, and so I just think it ties together nicely. It's kind of like the linen, the creams, and the whites. But we've got these fun lamps that we got at a vintage store. I don't know if you can see it here, but these are absolutely stunning. So we kind of have vases and things, and this kind of is the play, and this is kind of the vibe that we're going for in this casita. I also love this little tray. Gossip today, it felt great. that's all. So this is just like fun. But yeah, you know, we wanted to bring a lot of golds. And again, you can kind of see the birds, and this vase that has a similar print to the lamps ties in really nicely. So this is also vintage.
The books you've probably noticed throughout the house, we have a couple of the destination books of some of our favorite places. So we had Aspen inside.
Yep.
We love Tulum, and Mykonos is probably our
One of our favorites
in the entire world.
So we hope to add to those books. Maybe we'll get an Italy book and we'll get a France book because, yeah, we need to go there. This is a fun pelican. My friend gave me this, but I thought, how cute. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And then I was like, wait, this is going to go in the casita, and this ties nicely with like kind of birds, tropical theme.
Also ties to our New Orleans roots.
Yep.
Since the pelican is the state bird of Louisiana.
Yeah. So nice. The mirror kind of opens up the room, makes it really big. This rug came out beautiful from Southern Rugs, Texas. I absolutely love it. I didn't want to do like, let's do green, but it kind of has teal, but mostly blue. And it just gives it a nice pop. And then these birds of paradise, this planter, literally we were bringing inside the house from Nicholson Hardy, and our neighbor was like, where did you get that? And then she ran and got the same planter. So we love this. And then again, just these fun types of more birds and prints in these vases kind of tie it all together.
Home means to me somewhere that is kind of sacred almost. It's where you build each step of your life. It's something that is yours or ours, and it's unique to us. Yep. And it's where we create all of our memories.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
And spend time with our wonderful 2 little dogs that will, I'm sure, be running around here at some point.
Yes. I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, I think I was going to say it's like creating memories. There's a lot of things for us that have happened in this house that have been special, good or bad. But also, it's a place to welcome your family and your friends and invite them in your space. And it's also a place for us where I kind of think of a home as kind of a safe space, like sometimes to get away and kind of cozy up and relax and have that quiet peace kind of away from the world. And so we're able to do that here. And again, like Austin said, it's ours, and it's also something that can be a blank canvas too. I can change everything that we've done.
And he does.
I do. I'm the type of person that I'll be like, okay, we just did this room. Okay, 2 weeks later, I see something on TV. Okay, I want to change it. It's terrible, everything. Let's change everything. And I love that you can do that at your house. You can create anything that you want. You can transform a room into a bar. You can transform it into a beautiful office. And I love that.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Marcy. Welcome to my home in Florida. Come on in, let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Marcy Bond. Welcome to my home in Manalapan, Florida. I'm from the Bahamas, and I'm a retired retailer. I had an apartment in Palm Beach, just off of Worth Avenue. And 5 years ago, I discovered this villa here, which is on a row of 15 villas. And they were built in 1973 by architect Henry Harding. And when I saw them, I immediately fell in love and bought one 3 days later and sold my place in Palm Beach. When people come into the house, I love it when they come in and they say, wow, so much color. And the other thing that people often say to me when they come into this house is, oh, this reminds me of what it was like growing up in Florida, because it is an older home. And yeah, just people are afraid of color now, but not me. As I was doing it, I realized how red was such an important color in this home. It just pops beautifully. I love color, and it just makes me happy. absolutely not a beige neutral person, and I never will be. Welcome to the living room. When I first bought this home, I knew that I would like to put seagrass raffia wallpaper on the walls because that always adds warmth to a room. And again, color, color, color. And as I said before, I think incorporating things that are old are very important, more important to me than adding new things. So this piece is vintage. A lot of the things in here are antique. This is a French wallpaper panel that I purchased and then had it framed. It looks like original art, but it's just a wallpaper panel. It's kind of a good trick. This sofa I actually bought on eBay a few years ago, and I had it upholstered in this beautiful French fabric. I think it looks great, and that color always looks good in this house. Being from the Bahamas, I always have to have my Bahamian policeman in everywhere when I decorate. I have a collection of old Bahamian tourism ads that they take out of old magazines and sell on eBay. And I have them dotted around the house. But this one in particular is very special to me because this is around 1965. And a friend of mine came over recently and said, "That's Mum." And it's a British family that I've known my whole life. And she's a friend. She's still alive and a very good family friend. And I only just realized recently that it's her. So every morning when I get up and I come out of the bedroom, I say, "Good morning, Jerry." So that's very special to me. And then here I have a little collection of English woolies and shell dioramas. And again, adding old and new I think is a very good kind of trick. So these two ships are around early 1900s. And then this is just a print that's new from Mary Maguire, but I think they mix well together. And these shell dioramas are also from an antique dealer in the Cotswolds in England. And they're also around 1910. And these little French guys here, I bought from an antique store in West Palm Beach. And the matting here is actually made of tortoise shell. And they're around 1840 or so. And then my little John Darien hearts, just for a pop of fun. The pink here is a color called Comical Coral. I think it's Benjamin Moore. And I'm very meticulous. So I loved the color, but it was a bit too dark. So I had them lighten it by 50%, which they could do in the paint store. And so after a few attempts, I got the color that I wanted. But I just thought it was very Palm Beachy and very Florida. So I love the combination of that with the grass cloth. So I like to buy things when I'm traveling as well for the house. And these are just cushions that I bought in Mexico. They always remind me of my trips to Tulum. And this is another sofa that I purchased on eBay and had reupholstered. And these are felt cushions that I bought in England that are wonderful. And I have a collection of Bahamian art from a primitive artist by the name of Amos Ferguson, and that's what this one is. And I have a whole collection in the TV room, which we'll talk about later. Again, my Bahamian policeman. More, another shell box done by a friend of mine. And this book was put together by my brother, John Fondas, my twin brother. He had a collection of sailors' valentines. And he had his whole collection photographed and published this book with Rizzoli, and it's great. It is in the shape of the actual sailor's valentines that he had in his collection. And that was a very popular book. So something, I only have one copy. They seem to go missing all the time. When I'm putting a room together like this, I don't think too hard about mixing which colors with which. I just kind of buy what I think is pretty and I throw it together and I hope it works. Usually it works. If it doesn't, I just change things around, reupholster. But yeah, because I'm not actually a decorator and I'm not actually good at understanding what's going to look good in a space until it's actually in the space. So I do make a lot of mistakes, but I somehow get there in the end. The chairs here I thought were kind of a good neutral but then I added the throws over the top in this color to tie it in with the two sofas and all of the cushions on the sofas. This shell mirror is mid-century and it's wrought iron. And I originally purchased this for my apartment in Palm Beach, but when I moved here, I had to bring it with me because it was too good to leave behind. These shell boxes here were made by an artist friend of mine, and she just does this sort of, she's a painter, but she does these shell boxes on the side, and she's a snorkeler, and she has a home in the Bahamas. We collected all of these shells together when we would go on the boat to the Berry Islands in the Bahamas. And she put these together for me and gifted them to me. So they're very special to me. So these are vintage Bahamian postcards that I also picked up on eBay. And they're, again, very sentimental to me, but also I thought very charming in any tropical house. And so I just had them framed and floated. And I just think they're really whimsical and fun and tropical. When I first came to see the villa, it was lovely, but had very heavy fabrics in it. So what I wanted to do was to make it lighter and brighter, and I absolutely love color. So I just wanted to modernize it and just make it my happy place. I have a lot of fabrics here in the house, which I always think make a house warm and cozy. And the more fabric in a home, the softer the sounds are, the acoustics are better, and it just is more cozy. Now we're stepping into the dining room, but just before we get there, I just wanted to point out this beautiful fabric that I used for my curtains. This is from Quadrille, and I just think it's an absolutely beautiful fabric that incorporated so many of the colors that I have in the room. And the name of the print is Les Indiennes, and it's one of my absolute favorites. And I have these bamboo shades, which are actually electric shades. And I think they always look great in any home, whether it's modern or old. So to divide the two spaces here, the living and the dining spaces, I put this vintage mid-century console here, which I thought, again, was a great little fun color. And I just put a few things on here that I love. I have a little obsession with Herond, Hungarian hand-painted china. So I've been collecting pieces over the years. And this is another one that a friend gave to me as a gift. That's a very special one. And I just decorated with books and this is a sea urchin, just to kind of divide the two spaces. And this is the only probably new set of furniture I have in the home. I typically would always rather put something vintage, but I purchased this table during COVID when it was hard to get anything. So I like it, but to be honest, I would like it better if it was something older. But I thought this could be a temporary until I find something else. And then I have these lovely pagodas that were done by my friend Amanda Lindroth. She has a whole wicker collection that's gorgeous that she sells. So this dining set was from Serena and Lily. And again, I'm not a lover of buying things from catalogs, but it's definitely pretty and it serves its purpose for the moment. But eventually I'm going to find something probably vintage to put here. And I just had the cushions made to go over the top, just to kind of give it a little color to add to it. This watercolor here was done by my good friend Alex Timchula. She's an artist from New Jersey who has a home in the Bahamas, and I just absolutely love it. Again, it's very whimsical and it's very tropical. And the more you look at it, the more you see. This pendant light I purchased from a photograph, and it came from Paris. And it was a little bit of an extravagant purchase and a completely different color in the photograph. When I got it here and had it installed, I actually didn't like the color, but I was so invested in it that I just decided to keep it. So it's growing on me, let's just say that. So I always liked for my bar to be a little bit whimsical, of course. So I incorporated these little Bahamian policemen here. This is the Bahamas Police Marching Band, and if you ever go to the Bahamas, it's something you have to see. I have some bottles here that are fun. This one in particular is actually a very, very collectible bottle made by Nassau Royale. And all of my friends in the Bahamas are trying to get their hands on one. I finally got this from eBay after searching for about 5 years. Originally, this bar had some very dark wallpaper, so I changed it for this quadruple wallpaper that's called Crisscross. But I actually have this also in my kitchen and in a pair of chairs in the living room, just all tied together very well. And then up here, I thought, if you're in Florida, you've got to have a gator somewhere. This painting here was given to me for my birthday by someone very special to me. And it's a very special painting. It's by a Hungarian-American artist by the name of George Nemethy. And what's so special about them is that they're incredibly detailed. And actually they're best seen under a magnifying glass because they are that detailed. But they also look great from a distance. And he paints scenes in the Bahamas and Bermuda and also in the Mediterranean. And it's one of my favorite pieces of art that I own. So now we're moving into my little kitchen. I'm not big on renovating, so this kitchen is basically as it was when I purchased the house. I changed the wallpaper, but that was really about it. And it came with these beautiful French antique chairs that Lita Austin Foster had bought when she was renovating and decorating the house in 1997. And again, always good to have antiques. This is the same wallpaper that I have in the bar and also on the pair of chairs in the living room. And these are also old Bahamian tourism ads that I purchased on eBay as well and had those framed here. This light I bought during COVID and I absolutely love it. It took 1 year to get here. So this is just my little breakfast nook where I like to have coffee in the morning. This sink was actually here when I bought the house and I absolutely could not change it. It's, I think, the funnest thing in the house. And it came from a company in the 80s and 90s that was very popular called Country Floors. And I think it's so fun. And this I bought at an antiques fair, and it's Italian. I just thought it looked so fun for that space. And while I'm here, I just want to show you some very beautiful special plates I have here that are all hand painted in the UK. And they all have different animals on them. And they're some of my favorites. I love them. And they came with the house. Previous owners left a lot of goodies here, which is always a good thing. And then this is a vintage Pucci plate from the 1980s that was done for Rosenthal, which my brother actually bought for me as a gift. And again, lots of color. I think it's perfect for the kitchen here. I call this house the doll house because it's really tiny. And for a lot of people, they don't like that. But me, the tinier it is, the cozier it is. It's a little bit like being on a boat. The bedrooms have somewhat low ceilings, but all of that just adds to the coziness. When I have friends come and stay, you know, we hang out in this bright living room, we hang out in the TV room, and everybody loves coming back, you know, because it's not your typical big house with a bunch of rooms that I'm not using. So now we're entering the primary bedroom, and this bedroom was quite a work in progress. The home, when I bought it, came with this flooring, and it came with this wallpaper, which I absolutely love. It sort of reminded me a bit of Laura Ashley in the 1990s. So I had this beautiful canopy made here, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work with the wallpaper or not. So I had that installed, and it worked beautifully. So it sort of all just came together. The little bamboo tables came with the house, and these incredible brass sconces also came with the house. I just changed the shades. So again, it's very cozy in here, and sometimes I don't want to leave. This lamp also, this mid-century lamp, came with the house with the wallpaper on the shade that matches the wallpaper here. These birds are Italian and they are decoupage. And the amazing thing about the way they framed it is that if you take it off of the wall and look at the back, there's a beautiful Balinese fabric at the back. You could almost hang it the other way around. And I'm not going to say where the cushions are from, but they're not high-end. They're from Home Goods. I like to mix. This lamp here, antique lamp, came with the house, as well as the chair. My wonderful neighbors actually gifted this desk to me. And this piece here is vintage fix reed, which I just purchased recently. And I bought it in white, and I painted it in a color that my friend Amanda Lindroth uses a lot, and it's called Southfield Green. And it is a fantastic neutral color to use, and it's great indoor and outdoor. And it just always works. This is a print from Mary McGuire, and she's very clever because she does them with these antiqued frames. So they actually look old, but they're new. And she does sometimes paint over the top a little bit to make them look original. And then another piece of heron that I love that my mom gave to me. Love that. This pair of chairs here came with the house, and it had a sort of very old-fashioned frilly fabric on it, and I had it reupholstered with this striping, and it just brought the chairs back to life, like as if they were new. But again, they're not. They're just something I recycled. And the house also came with these beautiful lucite TV stands. I'm a big TV person, so in all of my bedrooms I always have them. But they're super fun and very simple. So now we're in my little TV room, which is the most comfortable room in the house. And again, I don't like to buy things from catalogs. This is a Pottery Barn sofa, and I bought it for a couple of reasons. One is they have the best, most comfortable sofas for watching TV, but also the house is so small that an actual sofa could not fit through the hallway here. So I had to buy something that was a sectional, and they barely got the 3 sections in through the hallway here. And I have a collection of these Bahamian primitive paintings that were done by a painter by the name of Amos Ferguson. And I started collecting these in the late 1980s. And back in the day, he wasn't in a gallery, so you would go to his house, which was a shack, and he didn't have electricity. So he would take you to the back room where he had the art and shine a flashlight on the art, and you would just pick things from the floor. So I have 5 of these, which I covet. These 2 were given to me by my brother, which he gave to me, I think, in a moment of weakness, and I snatched them and took them as quickly as I could before he changed his mind. This is another antique piece that came with the house, and I thought it was super charming, and it fit the space perfectly, so it has never moved from this space. I just put some family photos in here. I bought these slipper chairs quite a few years ago, and they were in my apartment in Palm Beach, and I had this fabric put on and kind of just kept it, brought it here, and then brought these cushions for them. I thought it was kind of a fun, whimsical way to add to it. And it all sort of ties in together with what's on the sofa here. And this beautiful brass lamp came with the house again, and I just changed the shade. That was it. And just little knickknacks and things here. More pictures. This is another painting from my Amos Ferguson collection. He predominantly painted on cardboard, which never really lasted. And this was one of the only paintings he ever did on canvas. So that's the most collectible one. Growing up in the Bahamas, my parents were in the retail jewelry business. And in my late 20s, I got into the clothing business, and I had my own retail store for 20 years. And that was absolutely the easiest thing I've ever done and the funnest, because I was able to just buy beautiful things and sell them, which to me was a lot easier than putting a house together. So for me, putting a house together is very tricky, and I have to do it by trial and error because I'm not a trained decorator. So I end up making a lot of mistakes, but somehow it all comes together in the end. It can take me a long time. This house actually took me 3 years. The painting behind me, I was actually on the floor framed for 2 years before I figured out where to put it. But I just wing it and somehow I get there in the end. So now we are in my guest bedroom, and all I can say about this room is whimsical. I don't know how I put it together. It was an accident. But again, the canopies with quadrille fabric again, and these soldiers from Mary Maguire, again in the antiqued frames. And then up here we have our John Darien Napoleon. I try to have a sense of humor when I'm decorating a little bit. The furniture actually came with the house, but it was a brown furniture. And again, it's that Southfield green color that I used here on this and on the headboards. And I added this Matuk fabric from Lulu de Kwiatkowski because it's just so happy and fun. These birds on the wall here look like original art, but what they are actually is prints that are painted over the top of. And they're done by an artist in the Bahamas by the name of Bill Johnson. And he's been doing these since the 1960s. And he does maps and birds and fish. And we've had them in all of our homes growing up in the Bahamas. And these are old, but he still produces them. And I had them in another home with white frames. And then when I moved here, I had the frames painted brown. I purchased these two adorable little paintings on Facebook Marketplace in the Bahamas and brought them over to Florida and had them framed. And I was asking a friend the other day who the artist was, and it turns out that the artist of these was my art teacher when I was 12 years old in the Bahamas. And so they have so much meaning to me now on top of being just adorable pictures. And she was a lovely teacher. All of our teachers in the Bahamas were British, and so that's very sentimental to me. These little benches here are vintage fixed reed, and I had them upholstered and painted and had them in another home, and they just worked perfectly in this space. But once again, mid-century seems to be what I always revert back to. So now we're on my little back porch, which I love hanging out here, especially in the winter. I have a sort of combination of vintage furniture that I purchased in junk shops and basically painted myself with Rust-Oleum spray. And the plants are, believe it or not, these wonderful pots are from Wayfair. And yeah, just again, vintage wrought iron furniture, just comfortable places to sit and hang out. The tablecloth I purchased from Etsy, of course, and it's just a beautiful Indian fabric that tied in a lot of the colors that I have inside the house. The thing that gives a home a soul to me is having a lot of old things in the home. So probably 80% of what's in my home, I purchased secondhand. Sofas, which I recovered. I always love to keep things, when I buy a home, to keep a few things from the previous owner, because I think it kind of adds to the charm and to the feeling. I have a lot of original art, not a lot of prints. I've got things that I have collected over the years, like shell boxes and shell dioramas. And definitely having old things in a home give it a lot more character. Home to me is a place where you can be traveling, you can be out in the crazy traffic. You arrive home, you open the door, you walk in, and you just feel, this is where I'm meant to be. And to me, it's a place that I don't like to leave. I mean, I love going out, doing things and traveling, but there is truly no place like home when you live in the house that you created for yourself.